Shoo-ba-doo-bop. Sunday bites and tidbits. This life they'll help you live it and get yourself together. Sunday bites and tidbits.
Everybody, welcome back to Sunday Bites and Tidbits. We're so excited to have you here. Babette, you want to sing a little bit about
Sunday bites and tidbits.
Okay.
Oh,
That one. I'm just so excited about today's guest, right, guys? This is something that we've never had on the show before, and it's going to be so great to talk to. I call him Dr. Lucky. I'm going to let him pronounce his name because I don't want to mess it up. Lakshman Mulpuri. Lakshman Mulpuri.
oh, okay. I thought you were going to let him do it.
Well, I just wanted to see if I could get it, to see how close I could get it. But we're just going to have him jump in because there's a lot to talk about because I don't know anything. I've never met a vegan optometrist and the importance of it and how it benefits us. What about you?
Oh, I'm excited.
No, I'm very excited. I want to know, I want to ask him some questions specific to macular degeneration as well, and things and how diet can do with that. But I thought his name was really Lucky. Wow, that's not his actual name.
Dr. Lucky. Well, let's welcome on Dr. Lucky. All righty, so hello, Dr. Lucky.
Hey, y'all. Happy to be here. I'm happy to be here. I'm good. I'm excited to get into a lot to talk about. I mean, you know, they say may you live in interesting times, but we certainly are in some, and I think we got a lot of exciting things to talk about today.
So was Dr. Lucky in New York when we were at the
at the Brooklyn
Right.
yes.
At Veg Fest. We were all stuck inside. It was raining. Everybody's trying to protect their hair. Yeah, that's what that was us. That was us.
Right.
Yeah. So how are you?
I'm doing great. You know, the funny thing about any type of advocacy is sometimes it ebbs and flows, right? So, you know, last month, you know, obviously towards the end of the year, the festivals, as y'all know, get a little, you know, quieter because they start getting colder outside. But I was actually at the Chicago Marathon helping work with Switch for Good, which is one of the organizations I
love Switch for Good. They're great.
I know, and they're doing great work. And so it's so funny because I remember when I used to talk about this stuff a couple of years ago, people would look at me like I'm kind of crazy, like switching away from dairy. And now, you know, I talked to probably 300 to 400 people on Saturday. And I can't tell you how many people are like, I'm already dairy free. You don't got to ask me twice. And
nice.
You know, that recently, especially because it's getting a little darker and colder here in the Midwest, you know, that's what's really been fueling me a little is remembering that, you know, there's a lot of folks who are changing their lifestyles in the direction that we hope they go.
Yeah.
Some might not be doing so vocally, right? But folks are making the change.
Well, a lot of them are also finding that their bodies can no longer tolerate.
Thank you. I was Terrah, I'm right with you on that.
1,000%. 1,000%.
Yeah, I think
we assume we're all, you know, 15, 16 years old. You know what I'm saying? At a certain point, it catches up to you. At a certain point, it catches up.
And it's, you know, you realize the comfort that you feel when you cut it out, how much better you feel. And I have a friend of mine who was just telling me that he just came back from visiting his family and his aunt makes this delicious pound cake. And he's like, man, these cakes are so good.
Right.
So she gave me half the cake and I just decided I'm going to take my lactose pills because I just have to eat the cake.
Right.
So it's just what goes with it. He says, normally I just say no because the pain is so excruciating, but cake is so much more delicious than the pain that I'm just going to take a pill and enjoy the cake.
I don't know what to call that, but that's a certain type of thinking. That's a certain type of thinking.
I sort of pride myself on figuring out how to make stuff that doesn't taste like you'll know that it's dairy free or egg free or vegan.
Most definitely.
That's especially when it comes to desserts and things. But interesting what you said about, and I was reading all your notes. Wow, you're very, very fascinating. I learned a lot just by reading your show notes. But my son had asthma really bad. Yeah. And was on all the inhalers. I took him off dairy when he was 11 years old.
Yeah.
He hasn't had an asthma attack.
That's great. That's great.
And I 100% attributed to the fact that the dairy, was removed. And I think that being lactose intolerant though doesn't discriminate by age.
No.
Sylvia, the same thing happened to me. I had eczema and asthma.
Yeah.
And as soon as I got off the dairy, all of it went away.
And you had eczema?
Huh?
You had eczema?
I had eczema. And I used to, as long as I was on the dairy, I would break out in my face and swell up everything. Every 30 days, I would break out in my face.
Right.
And as soon as I got off all dairy, all of it went away.
That's great.
I had it
Don't your boys, Terrah, didn't your boys?
Carson, the same thing. He had eczema, he had asthma. And then, his was really bad. And then finally we just pulled in, and then the inhaler went away and explain to people that you really have to pay attention to what you're ingesting because it just doesn't come out of nowhere.
No,
right.
It's true.
And
it's true.
But I want to let us start diving in. Now you're an optometrist.
Ophthalmologist.
Now, what's
I'm a resident physician in ophthalmology.
Okay,
So ophthalmology is obviously optometry's job is to kind of help serve as, I'd say, you could say the primary care providers of ophthalmology, but really they're not medical doctors. So we go to school, medical school, then we do residency, which is another 4 years, right? And then sometimes we'll do some specialization on top of that. And really, we are your comprehensive doctor. Not only are we the folks who diagnose disease, but we're the ones who treat it. We're the ones who sometimes, if we need to operate in order to help folks see better. So anything that relates to disease, really, that's what we do in ophthalmology. And so that's really the big difference between the two. Now, optometrists obviously, serve a vital function, especially for folks who, need contact lenses, they'll need glasses prescription. And sometimes folks who aren't able to get to see an ophthalmologist will sometimes go and see an optometrist.
So,
but yeah.
Question. You just said that they don't
go to right.
Right. They go to optometry school, right? Which is completely separate from medical school.
I didn't realize it was a separate entity.
I didn't either.
Separate. I know. If only people didn't keep naming things the same thing, right? I mean, it's hard to know.
I'm just now learning this.
Like
my nephew is an ophthalmologist. My nephew is an ophthalmologist, so I knew.
Oh, great.
You knew.
Yeah.
So Sylvia already knew what was up.
I did not.
Because Dr. Montgomery and Dr. Batiste, they're both cardiologists, but they have very specific fields in that.
Right.
And so he says, well, you would go to Dr. Montgomery for this, and then once he does that, then you come to me for that.
Yeah, so ophthalmology's got that too. We have like layers upon layers of people who get more and more specific, right? And people oftentimes outside of ophthalmology and optometry as well, folks don't know a lot about the eyes, which is kind of one of the big things. It's not very surprising, but there really hasn't been a ton of research that looks at dietary health and ocular health, right? Like how do we reconcile these two, what seem to be very different things, especially because a lot of folks sometimes don't realize that the eye is in fact connected to the rest of the body. And, things that are good for the rest of your body tend to also have a ton of benefit for your eyes and for your vision and for preventing some of these major causes of blindness that we see, especially among folks in health.
I have got to ask you something. May I please?
Of course. Hit me with it.
Okay, so let me tell you what I go through. I'm 74 years old. Well,
I would never
7th,
know. Yeah, right.
December 7th, I'll be. Yeah. Well, my eyes know. And I noticed that when it is time for me to cleanse, basically fast, food abstinence, I will start getting the teary eyes. As soon as I go on a cleanse, it all goes away.
Really?
Really and truly. Wow. That is that. And that's been going on for a while. If I get too mucused up, too inflamed, my eyes will tear. I need those little, what do you call those little
lid scrubs?
Cotton ball things.
Yeah.
And as soon as I cleanse 10 days or longer, all of it clears up.
Wow. And here's the thing too. Remember, I had mentioned earlier, there's a lot of stuff we don't know. There's a lot of research as it pertains to diet and eye health. Now, when we had all talked a couple of months ago, even then, kind of what we had published, which is just now getting noticed among other ophthalmologists, right? Looking at dietary patterns and how it relates to cataracts, diabetic retinopathy, and age-related macular degeneration. Those are really the big three for folks, and glaucoma is another one as well for why folks have blindness. I say all that to say that a lot of what I wrote there really isn't pulling from a lot, because there isn't a lot. And it's very possible that there's a relationship between diet and a whole host of other diseases in the eye that we haven't talked about because we just don't know. The research hasn't been done there. And, we know why. I mean, a lot of times, folks really want to focus on what can I take right now? What can I do right now in this moment to help alleviate a problem? And let's be honest, certainly medicine has its place. We all know that. We know a lot of folks who need it. But what always is fascinating to me is if we took a step back, right? And we look at where all these things that we're trying to supplement are coming from, right? All these antioxidants, these phytonutrients, all these vitamins, take a step back and look, where is that coming from? We can get a good sense, these are the types of foods I should be eating, right? These are the types of things I should be eating. And when it comes to the eye tells us what it wants, right? Yeah. And what it wants are these things called carotenoids, lutein, zeaxanthine, mesozeaxanthine. Try saying that fast 3 times. I dare you.
Now, so that I can understand you, because you're talking a
whole nother language. Well, so I'll make it easy. So we got these 3 pigments, right? And they are concentrated in the back of our eye, in the part of our eye that's really important for our central vision. The fascinating thing about these pigments is we can't make them. The human body cannot make them. So where do we get them from, right? We get them from what we eat. So these 3 things I just talked about, right? We can only get them from the food that we have. So if you're telling me, right?
Name those 3 things again.
Lutein, zeaxanthine, and then mesozeaxanthine, which is a derivative. Again, it's all gibberish. But the important thing is lots of leafy greens, right? Lots of colorful fruits and vegetables, right? Right. I always joke when I give my talks, right? But the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice, right? And that really holds when it comes to food, when it comes to fruit, when it comes to all these types of things. We want these pigmented fruits and these pigmented, vegetables, because they give us a lot of benefit in things that you can't really find in a pill, right? An injection. And truthfully, you can't sustain getting pills and injections all the time when you're missing out on that foundation to build your home of health, right? That's what we really need.
Wow.
The reason I kind of am aware is a couple of reasons I'm aware. I started wearing glasses when I was about 10 years old.
Wow.
Because I was born with a lazy eye. And so I had to wear these glasses that gave me headaches because they were like
pulling your eyes in, right.
And then I had astigmatism. And so I kind of went through my life being able to see everything fine, but the astigmatism, right. And so then all of a sudden, about 3 years ago, I started to feel that cloudiness, the cloudy in my eye. And but I didn't. Ultimately, I lost 90% of the vision of my left eye. Like I literally couldn't see.
Oh my gosh!
Y'all don't even know. Like I went a whole year, couldn't see out of my left eye at all. But what was interesting was when I went there's a specialist here who specializes in
I remember
cataract and all of that. And she said, wait, how old are you? And wait, what? And how do you eat? She goes, I didn't check the boxes for somebody who have a cataract. But she had just done cataract surgery on a child, like a 12-year-old or something. So she ended up removing it. And then she said, you know what? It was a little teeny, tiny, weeny little speck on the other one. Let's just get rid of that one too. And so she did that, and my vision is, my kids like tease me that I can see a gnat on a fly's behind because I can see really, really well.
Right.
But which for vanity purposes is kind of like, oh, wow. Well, but I took lutein. I was taking the supplement.
Right.
But obviously I'm already vegan, so I was getting a lot of that anyway.
Right.
But it was funny because she's not vegan. And she's very much about telling me, oh, you need to make sure you're getting your leafy greens and you need to do this.
Right.
And I was like, okay. Yeah. And so I did a lot of study to understand kind of what was happening. She said something interesting, and I want to ask you about this. She asked me if I had been injured. if I had like scratched my eye or
Right.
something had gotten in that could cause it to create some kind of something in my eye that would mimic a cataract. I don't even know. I mean,
Right.
I don't know. You know, nothing that comes to mind. But
Right.
I'm just I'm really
It is strange though. It is interesting, but sometimes folks can have it for a long period of time and not even know it, especially
That's
young.
what she said.
You know, and not even know. And you know, one day something starts changing, you start noticing a little more. But the good news is, right, well, we were able to do what? We took it out, we put a brand new lens in, and now you can see, right? And that's the beauty of like modern medicine that we have found. So I mean, think about it, just like 200 years ago, folks were cutting into each other to cause pain, right?
Right.
And now we can cut to heal, right? In some way, shape, or form. Now, I want to get folks to a point where they don't need to be cut, at least not now, right? Or until a lot later. And listen, we have gotten cataract surgery is one of the most common surgeries in the world, Sylvia. It's one of the most common ones. Yeah. That's not to say that I want folks getting them, right, every single day, all day long, right? If we can delay folks needing that kind of intervention
100%.
For a longer period of time, we all benefit, right? We all benefit because they don't have to spend as much money, time, recuperation, right?
Say that again.
We're overwhelmed, you know, in medicine. Yeah, I'm serious. I mean, there's a lot of we sometimes nothing in life we're doing is easy. I say that to my patients all the time, but we sometimes forget that there's all these steps that we can take before you need to come and see somebody like me or other doctors. And unfortunately, we've built this mentality that our bodies are cars. You know, we can swap a part in, swap part, and sometimes we can. You know, of course, sometimes we can. But a lot of times, I don't think anybody wants to go out without their factory parts, right? Like nobody wants to go back and have that full conversation and deal with all the things that they're dealing with. When if 20 years earlier they'd had that conversation with a doctor about, let's talk about what healthy eating really means, right? Or somebody had
what's crazy guidance. This is what I've been vegan for 30 years.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and before that, I was vegetarian for 8. And then before that, it was whatever, regular food. Right. So again, it can happen even if you are checking the boxes, but it can be genetic.
Right. Yeah. So, and here's the thing, and Sylvia, you on the money, because there's folks who, I used to work with this pediatric cardiologist. She would deal with a lot of kids, obviously, but also adults who had cardiology disease at a young age. Right. And one of the big things, if you look at these folks, is they're at a higher risk from a number of complications, which is why, obviously, you're a little bit different case because cataracts are a little different than a systemic disease. Right. But these folks, if you're able to get to them earlier through lifestyle intervention, you can prevent all sorts of complications that they might have to go through because they're already at a higher risk. Right. Because they've got to go through all this.
Talking about preventative, is there a world where making an adjustment now can reverse some things, particularly when we start talking about MACD dry and MACD wet?
It's a good question. Yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of the research we have shows that once things start developing, right, you got to do everything you can to make sure it doesn't get further. But we can't go back. We can't go back. And that's just for the research that we have. Now, when it comes to something like diabetes, we don't really know. The jury's out because there's not enough information, but we all know in the group that tons of people, even anecdotally, not even literature. I mean, I can talk to you days about the science, right? But we know folks who were 10, 20 years with diabetes, horrible complications, who had made a substantial change in their lifestyle. And I mean, now it's like nothing almost happened. Now, obviously, the body went through some stress, but they're in a place where they don't have to take 15 different medications. They don't have to take all these injections. They're in a better place than they were before. And I mean, isn't that what this is all about? We want folks to just live a happier, healthier life. Right?
I'm gonna kind of tie the pieces together for those who who don't live our lifestyle. Now, tell them how you got started on your vegan journey.
Oh yeah, this story, I tell this story at every festival because folks love it so much, Terrah. So my girlfriend at the time, this was back in I was the undergrad at University of Michigan. I was minoring in nutrition, majoring in economics. So I was a little bit of a pre-med millennial. But she had told me, I want to go plant-based. And I looked at her like, you want to do what now? You want to go, what was that word? You said vegan? What is that word? I for the longest time in my life, especially because, I'm from the Midwest, Detroit's a city known for its soul food, fried shrimp, box pizza, Detroit style pizza, all that, right? Like that. I don't think until that point, I'd even consider that was a possibility. So, me being, there's a reason why men have a lower life expectancy. We're stubborn. All right. I promise we're stubborn. So she came and told me, she said, I want to do this. And I said, you have to be outside your mind. I'm not doing what I would never. And I actually I didn't talk to her for 3 days because I was so upset. I was like, how dare you try to come after, these fundamental parts of who I am, right? Like my culture, right? Like what I consider to be part of my identity. And so, I said, listen, I'm a minor in nutrition. Like, let's talk it out. I'm going to bring all this information to you, and we're going to talk a little more about why you're wrong and I'm right. But, the more I looked, the less and less convinced I became of that worldview I held, which is, right, it's important. It's important to have humility, right? Pride is the devil. And I think that in many ways, we have to acknowledge that we don't know everything, right? And when you come to it with an open mind, you're always going to come away, right, learning something than if you're talking the whole time and trying to tell somebody else what you don't know, you'll learn something. So after that, I said, all right, she was from Vegas. So we went to Vegas to visit her family. And I told her dad, I remember, I said, all right, 1 week, I'm going to do everything I want. I had 3 buffets, Chick-fil-A 10 times. I went through Vegas was scared of me by the time I was done. I almost needed a wheelchair to get out of the buffet. And then I told her dad, I said, I'm done after this. And he was like, he was putting money on with her younger brother. Like, oh no, he's not, he'll be back. And after that, I was done.
Wow.
And, it's been 7-8 years now. And I honestly cannot imagine ever even going back.
Love that story. That's great.
That's a great story.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. So now you're vegan, but and this is in college, so you were not pursuing your profession yet.
No, right? I was still an undergrad. I was really still getting a sense of what it meant. And I think my real first revelation came, I already done a lot of community service work, right? This is when I started really building out my profile as like a community advocate. I spent a lot of time helping, volunteer, but more importantly, down the road, start managing nonprofits in Detroit. And this is kind of where I started developing that revelation that the food that we have, we always joke about food is medicine, right? Like, not even joke, you hear that word all the time. Food is medicine, food is medicine. But what does that really mean for folks, right? What does it really mean for folks who, don't have a grocery store, right? Like they can walk to. A third of people in Detroit don't even have a car they can use, right? So how are we going to get folks to a place where they can eat healthier? And really what I started seeing is the humanistic value, right, of eating better, what it looks like in a community setting. And then I got to med school and I thought that everybody in med school was going to be like down with it, like they're going to know everything. Like I'm going to be embraced with open arms. They're going to be carrying me on their shoulders like in the movies. Like it's going to be a great time. And I showed up to med school and people looked at me like I was crazy. And I have one of the largest med schools in the country, right? It's 300 people a class, which is huge. One of the largest contiguous medical student bodies. We're all in one place in Detroit, all 300 of us a class. So a total of 1,200 medical students. And I realized very quickly that what we say that we should be doing for patients isn't lining up, right? We're missing, there's a gap, right? We want folks to get better, but then we tell them to eat healthier, but we don't tell them how to do that. There's no specificity, right? And it's very hard making changes, in my mind, if you aren't given some sort of goalpost in a way that's reasonable, right? And I think, and I'm going to be honest, I think there's a certain degree of people underestimating the capacity to change that folks have, right? I can't tell you how many times people told me that they're not going to change. It's not even worth having a conversation with that patient. And, listen, I tell every patient, whether or not you take this advice is on you, right? The most important part of the team is the patient. But you need this. Somebody's got to tell you, right? Because I want you to know that this isn't all there's going to be for the rest of your life. And so, that was the stage I started saying, well, how can I convince some of my other medical students this? So during my junior year, so my third year of med school, I created the first ever plant-based medical curriculum in the country. So all 300 medical students in the first year learned about plant-based nutrition.
Nice.
Yeah, wow. I had 15, 20 medical providers, not just doctors, physical therapists. I had a psychologist. I had a couple other folks, interdisciplinary, a dentist even. And then I had a bunch of what I thought was the most important part that tied it all together is I wanted to make sure that I had people whose lives have been impacted, right? People who had been on the other side of what it was like to actually go through these, not just someone you see in clinic, 10, 15 minutes and you say, bye, Miss Smith. Somebody that you have seen that has gone through all these steps in their life and they made it back to the other side, right? And how much of their life they got back. And they, people put up their photos of the weight loss, which is important. But then people really, what I liked is they showed the medications they started with and then where they ended up. And
that's beautiful.
To me, that's the most beautiful part about it. I mean, we change lives just with a little advice. I'm
gonna tell you, honest to God, a lot of times I just don't think doctors know enough to tell me anything as it pertains to food.
Yeah, and your average doctor gets less than 40 hours of nutritional training. And that's
but for you to pull people together like that and do that, that's incredible.
Right. I mean, the best learning, I think, comes from people, right? The best stories come from people, right? Not what you hear from somebody else, somebody that you meet, that you can talk to, you can see their journey, right? And even if none of those med students change anything, my hope is that a seed was planted, that one day they're going to see their 6,000th, right, type 2 diabetic and think, didn't I learn something about somebody who had reversed their type 2 diabetes? Maybe I should look into that. Maybe I should, go and learn a little more about that.
Beautiful.
And so, anyways, enough of me talking.
That's my question.
Of course. Yeah. What's up, Sylvia?
Curriculum available for physicians throughout the country?
So we put it all together in a packet. And the thing is now, because COVID happened right after, we weren't able to bring it back because then it couldn't translate to virtual. And then when I tried to bring it back, administration changed. And I tried for about another year and a half, even after I was out of med school, trying to get it back, and it just wouldn't come back because, the right people weren't in place. Everything in life is, about who's in the right place at the right time, right?
Timing.
Yeah, timing.
I mean, you're out here speaking, you're doing all this. Is there a way that curriculum is that something that could be given to people, as a way to, hey, I have this curriculum, you can pick it up, because idea, just kind of a broad stroke of what the
curriculum. Yeah, I actually published it. I published everything.
Oh, you did publish it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we wrote. It's in. I don't know if you all know Dr. Kim Williams.
Yes.
He's got a journal that he's involved in called IJDRP. Long story short, essentially, I wrote it all out. How we started. How do you get more nutrition, and not just in med school, any sort of undergraduate curriculum. How do you get folks to get more involved in plant-based nutrition, and ultimately, how do you build towards a curriculum? So we published that. It's honestly, it's a good piece of work, and I think a couple of people have hit me up about it just because they got some guidance from it, and they tried to integrate more of that nutritional information into their own schools, into their own curriculums. And unfortunately, it's going to be a bit of a grassroots movement more than we like. And my focus kind of shifted from medical students to more on the community itself, which I think could really benefit from the knowledge in my time, a lot more than the medical students. But tell me.
Could this be translated into a book? Could this be published other than just like a white paper or something that is available to, like, could this, and that's, we can talk about that after the show.
Yeah.
I just wanted you to talk about that. The second thing is, there is a doctor here. I live in Arkansas, and there's a doctor
in Little Rock.
No, I live in Fort Smith.
Oh, Fort Smith. Okay.
Yeah.
You know Gigi? Gigi? Gigi?
Yeah, I know Gigi.
Y'all know Gigi.
Raw food.
Yeah, you know Gigi, Chef Babette.
Yeah.
She's
Little Rock. Is Gigi in Little Rock?
She's from Arkansas. She was supposed to. She's in St. Louis, and I spoke at one or two of her vegetables, but she was doing stuff down in Little Rock, Arkansas. So
there's a doctor here named Eric Drollshagen.
Okay.
Who is very, 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 very much open to the idea of all things plant-based. I don't know that he was back in 2019 when we met.
Yeah.
But he is now. He's been treating my son who's on the spectrum. And he's seen things happen. We did a test. I don't even know if I told you girls this. We did a test. When I turned 50, we did a test.
Y'all are all lying about your ages in this group. I'm telling you, there's something that's not.
We did a test, and I had been talking about being vegan and being plant-based. I can bench press, 100 and whatever. And so, because, protein, that's a whole other show.
Right.
But he did all my blood work.
Oh, great. And what do you find? What do you find?
I should.
Yeah, that's what I see.
Literally, it was like he went, okay, I'm done. Like, I'm done, like, fussing with you about this. We need to talk about what this is. Because I'm telling you guys, it was like check, 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 everything. Cholesterol, protein, blood, all the iron, everything was just like,
right.
So it changed his head.
Right.
Because he said what you said. They don't teach us about nutrition in med school.
No.
They teach us how to prescribe stuff.
Right.
And so I was saying, if there was a way I could connect the two of you, he would, I'm sure, love.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
And I believe that this would make a really great book for people, not just for like in regular people language.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That would be,
I agree. Yeah. I think that, and there's a lot of money in sickness. There's not a lot of money in health.
Absolutely.
Dig that.
Yeah, you can add, Chef Babette's more famous than I'll ever be, but I don't think Big Kale is paying her either. So you know what I'm saying? I don't. You know, everything we do is because we care about folks. You know, we want folks to be in a better position than they were yesterday.
So, how many years ago was this? Is when Babette and I met on a choir, singing on a choir.
Okay.
And this was during that time, and I was sitting in front of these ladies.
Right.
I don't know if some of them had turned 40, were going to turn 40, whatever. But I know there was one or two who had turned 40, and they said, soon as you turn 40, girl, your eyes are going to go. I'm telling you, your eyes are going to go. And I'm one of those people, as soon as you say something's going to happen, I just choose to defy it. Everybody said, oh, well, wait till you get your be real fat.
Yeah.
I just know, not me. So I remember that's like in the back of my brain. I don't like glasses because I don't like the way they feel on my face. And I don't want to stick anything in my eye. So I had made a choice that, okay, that's not going to be me.
Yeah.
Now I know I probably should get my eyes checked right now because lately I've been on the computer a lot.
Yeah, but you should get your eyes checked.
If my diet, because I stopped eating meat per se in 79.
Right.
So, and similar to you, I had a cute boyfriend. I was, younger, and he was cute and he didn't eat meat, so I didn't eat meat.
Right. Funny how that works, right?
I know, right? So I just never went back to it. I was more of a vegetarian then, but with that, I'm wondering how much of that played a role, because I'm now 66, right? So I'm wondering how much of that played a role in me not having to, like, I can tell I probably could benefit for some readers every now and then.
Yeah. Readers definitely,
Right. But as far as glasses, I don't need them to drive. I don't need them to read. I don't need.
It's a good question. A lot of times your eyes will change as we get older. It happens to everybody, just because the shape of the eye can change a little, the lens can change a little, like Sylvia and I were talking about cataracts. But you are right in the sense that there is research that is showing that differences in dietary patterns can lead to differences in when folks develop cataracts, if they develop cataracts, and how long it takes them to get there. And I mean, they looked at Chinese Buddhist monks or Taiwanese Buddhist monks, and they compared them, and they essentially said, okay, folks who are vegetarian, folks who are not vegetarian. And let me tell you, the vegetarian and non-vegetarian groups are like far healthier than anything we have here in the West. So anytime you see a group that you're looking at in a study, and the non-vegetarian group that you're comparing them to already is super healthy, and you still find a difference, that tells you that there's something there, because these folks already are doing everything they can be doing, and there's still a difference between folks who are vegetarian and non-vegetarian. Long story short, I think they found like a 30% decreased risk of developing cataracts among the Buddhist monks that were vegetarian. And that is like a preliminary study. They had a good number of folks that were enrolled in it. But that's starting to show that we know that what you eat affects your ocular health and affects the rest of your body, right? And the nice thing is you don't need to, my generation, and even I feel like nowadays everybody is so focused on trying to hack a diet. If you have this specific fruit at this time and you eat it 6 times a week, that's not how the human body works, right? It's a complex system. But if you have general principles, right? Lots of fruits and veggies, right? Stick away from high meat, stick away from barbecued meat, things that have a lot of heterocyclic amines, essentially stuff that can damage you, right? From too much cooking, too much barbecuing and smoking. And you stick away from those foods, stay away from the dairy, try to focus on the fruits and veggies. your life will be better for it, right? And it's not all or none, you know. That's why I went, you know, because you had asked one of the questions when we were kind of trying to figure out what we're going to talk about. For me, it was like, man, you're so young and idealistic, and you're just like, man, everybody tomorrow, if I could get it, I'd have them change to plant-based. That's not how the world works. You know, folks are complicated. They got a lot going on in their lives. If folks can get even better from where they were yesterday and a step forward in the right direction, the research shows that you were already better off. Now, I'd like you to be 100%, but you have a goal to work towards. Remember, we talked about having a goal to work towards. And eventually you'll get there if you stick with it, right? You'll get there if you stick with it.
And it just makes you happy.
It makes you happy. It gives you something to focus on to really like, because, you know, life is so hard, y'all. We all know this. There's so much that's out of our control, so many things that'll happen. And even with all the faith that we can muster in the world, even then it feels like it's not enough. Which is why I tell folks, if you can just take this one thing in your life, right? Really focus on it and do the best you can in it. I promise you it'll pay dividends in more ways than just your health. You'll feel better, right? Your mental game will get better because now you feel like you're working towards something, right? It gives you something to look forward to. And it helps you get past those times where things aren't going so well, you know?
So the whole thing with you say, eat carrots for your eyes.
That's true. It's true. It's true. Mom and dad weren't wrong. You know, don't eat too many carrots, but you know, there's
orange.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, remember we talked about those colors, right? You know, the red, orange, those colors still matter. They still matter.
Technically not really just carrots.
It's the principle though, right? It's the principle.
That's how they got them to eat carrots. You'll be able to see if you eat some carrots. Otherwise, you're going to go blind.
Man, I don't care. You trick people any way you can. Just get me more fruits and vegetables. I'm happy. I don't mind.
I've been so excited to get you on here because
thanks, y'all.
To really see the whoever thinks about outside of eating carrots.
No, you know, that's true.
Correlation between a healthy diet, and your eyes functioning. You know,
definitely
about that
and preventing all these problems. I mean, you know, because blindness happens a lot more than I think we realize because it's not a very visible part of somebody's body, right? I always say, like, geographically, the eyes are a very small part of the body. But symbolically, they're one of the largest parts of our experiences. Wow. And we miss that. I think we miss that because when you're talking to Auntie, you're talking to some of your friends, it's hard to know what's going on in their vision, right?
Right.
But for somebody else's life experience could be completely different just based on the vision that they're experiencing. And sometimes, especially when we're here in the US, but even across the world, a lot of times there's a lifestyle component that really can be hammered down in because at the end of the day, fine, maybe something happens that was out of control, but at least you did everything in your power to give yourself the best chances to not having to maybe deal with that for right now. You can push it to later, or maybe not have to deal with it at all.
I have a question. I'm sorry.
No, that's it. I'm just talking.
Okay, so there have been times I remember, over the years where I wake up and it feels like I'll go, oh, it's coming. My eyes getting blurred. And then I'll be driving. I go, what is that sign? I say, oh, no, it's coming. It's time.
But it comes and goes, right? It comes and goes.
Well,
right?
and I remember sitting there going, okay, this is unacceptable.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to see those signs. And before the end of the day, I'm back. And
Terrah, you got to put them artificial tears in. I'm going to tell y'all. Get some artificial tears in. Just like your skin gets ashy, right? We put lotion on, our skin gets ashy. The eyes too get a little dry. We get a little older, they get a little drier. Just put some artificial tears in.
It needs to be lubricated.
Yeah.
What about, because like I made a concoction in it because my eyes I've been on the computer.
Right.
And I got some herbs, some eye bright, and I'm
okay.
And I, rinse it out.
Don't do that. Don't do that. And the reason I say that is because there's a lot of bacteria and microbes and all these things. One of the important things about the eyes is we want things to be as sterile as possible when it comes to our eyes.
Okay.
And sometimes, like, it is okay to make, all kinds of things to drink, because your body has those defenses. But we generally don't want folks to put things in their eyes that you might not be able to control what's even in the water. Water itself has its own, bacteria. That's why when anybody's got contact lenses, Sylvia might know this. When anybody's got contact lenses, they say, what do they say? They say, don't put water on them, right? Because there's all sorts of bugs that live in that water that we don't want near your eyes.
Yeah, you don't spit on them either, which people do.
Oh, they
Well,
sure do.
yeah. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. Please don't do that.
I use drops though because my eye, especially because we all do this so much now.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's right. Yeah,
And so,
because you
and
don't blink as much. You don't blink
I
as
have
much.
my blue light things that don't
Okay.
get power, but they really, I notice significantly. I notice.
There you go. Okay, let's see. You got the glasses, Joe. Okay, look at that. That's a good look.
When I
Does it actually help though?
Oh, I'm gonna tell you right now. When I don't wear these, when I don't wear something with that blue light or whatever, my eyes almost feel like they're swollen inside my head.
What's important is you feel good, right? Because that's the most important thing about eyes, right? We want folks to feel good, right?
And I lubricate my eyes because this makes them dry. And also allergies and all kinds of stuff can do weird stuff to your eyes.
Oh, you got two. Yeah.
But these are readers, and these light. I'm the blue. So sometimes when my eyes get really tired, I can put them both on, and then I feel rejuvenated for a few hours, and then
Good.
Because I honestly don't want to rely on readers because then I feel like I'm going to have to always use them.
It doesn't make a difference to your eyes. Your eyes don't care. You care, but your eyes don't care. I promise.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Use the readers. Use the readers.
So people who wear glasses all the time,
right?
It doesn't like your eyes. No.
I know it's counterintuitive, but y'all are just putting yourself through pain for no reason.
What's funny though, you know what's funny? After I got my eyes done, and my recovery time was very again, and of course I get to go and trumpet the benefits of meditation and prayer and being vegan.
Yeah.
But
I believe it.
It was great, and so but they were like, "Oh, you have to get glasses now."
Right.
Wait, what? Why? Well, you have to. Well, I have to because I had really good insurance.
Right.
And so they prescribed these, they dilated me. Right. You know what happens, right? Right. And so, and then they did the eye exam to prove that I needed glasses. And so they give me back, I can't even wear them. Like I literally got them and I can, if I need to, like if I put them on, I have to be like a half a yard away from the television before them to even. So I've got these super expensive, super cute glasses that I can't wear because they were like. Well,
you can always get a new try getting a new prescription, a new script, and then you can actually keep the frames and see if they can swap the lenses.
Oh, these were my. I bought these. Yeah, these were special frames.
Special frame. Well, you can keep the frames. I'm saying just swap the lenses. Yeah. If you don't like the lenses, you can swap the lenses. Keep the frames. Does that make sense?
That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. Keep the frames.
I want one last question from me, and then I know we have to go. And I keep circling back to macular degeneration because a really good friend of mine who is very well known and whose name I won't call gets shots in his eyes.
Right.
Every month, every 2 months, whatever it is. He's been living with macular degeneration for at least 10 years.
Sure.
I don't know if it's wet or dry or whatever it is, but he gets these shots and he can tour and he can do his life and he does everything. And he has a terrible diet. Like it's a little better now, but it used to be really bad. So my question is, my husband right now is kind of navigating that, is that thing with his eyes and the macular D, and he doesn't. Somebody said it wasn't. Somebody else said it was. Somebody said it was cataract. Somebody else said no, it's wet. Somebody else said it's dry. He's just like so frustrated. So I guess what I'm trying to ask you is, in these, obviously things can be misdiagnosed, but is it just like go to someone who maybe knows what they're talking, like do it again, like?
No, you should definitely go to a retina specialist for that. It's always at the end of the day, like remember, y'all are the ones. We as patients, I'm a patient, we're all patients. At the end of the day, like we can take advice from a number of people and make the decision we want to make. But again, remember I said earlier, folks don't get that advice in the first place. Not just for diet, but in regular, right? We get the advice and make a decision based on that, right? And for your husband, I definitely say it's worth getting someone to take a look at. But we talked about it. Yeah, retina specialist is a good person to take a look if that's in fact what they have. If not, a general ophthalmologist. An ophthalmologist should be able to at least get a feel for what's going on. 100%.
Hey, I want to ask you another question. So when someone comes to you, how much do you incorporate, working with them on their diet?
Yeah.
How do you marry your worlds for your patients?
No.
If you want to hear the rest of this episode, just click on part 2.